Hello, YouTube. Welcome to my channel, Marriage, Politics, and Sports. I tell you what, Cam Newton's podcast is getting more and more popular. He's got some interesting guests coming on. This time he's talking to Keri Hilson, and she goes through a little bit about her relationship with Serg Ibaka and another athlete, and that too is enough for her. So we're going to get into some of the particulars, right after this. All right, so listen, that was a little quick, just a little introduction. I'm just trying to work on the game a little bit. Anyway, so like, share, and subscribe to my channel. And so we're gonna go ahead and let them kick off this conversation between Cam and Keri. Listen, she is a very, very good-looking woman. She's 42 years old now, and she was 29 when she started to mess with Serg Ibaka, and he was 22. So there was a 7-year age gap between the two. And when women get to 29 and 30, their mindset, is starting to change. They've had all the sex and all the freedom that they wanted. And so she go ahead and cleave to a young man who's just getting started. And so in the backdrop of that, with Serg Ibaka probably being one of the most handsome men in the NBA and being 22 years old, I think she had expectations of this brother that were unreasonable, and she probably should have known better. But let's let her talk about that, So here goes, her and Cam.
Oh, no. We work together.
Serg Ibaka.
Yes.
He was a good guy.
Says who?
Okay.
I'm just kidding, Serg.
But it was like, y'all was a
But he wasn't good to me. He probably feels like you feel. Like I could have been way better to her. Should have been. He probably,
Can we keep it funky?
She never goes into the reasons why she says he wasn't good to her. But let's just keep it a buck. He was cheating. He was probably fooling around with every woman he could. Was that right? No, but he's 22. She had her bite at the apple as a young songstress, and fooling around with anybody she wanted to. What made her think that she was going to take this NBA baller and make him any different than any other NBA baller, except the ones who really wanted to get married right out of college and stuff like that? And there's not that many of those guys.
we'll see.
Say less.
Let's see. Go ahead. What you want to say?
First off, during that period of time, they were up as a team. That was a fun team to watch.
Yeah.
And so much so that if you look at that team roster now, you'd be like, he was on that team, man. He was like this.
Facts.
But then like y'all were like black love, and he was the strong,
We looked good.
look immaculate.
I would agree there.
What did that relationship teach you?
Ooh, leave quicker.
Yeah, you can't do that on my play.
That's not.
That is a good answer. That's an answer that's the one answer that a lot of women should take away from this. Now, remember that age difference. She was 29, he was 22, and they were together for 4 years. That put her into her 30s, 33, 34, right? 4 years. Those are prime biological clock years. Now it turns out that she didn't want to have any children. That's another thought, right? Serg was 22 years old. When they broke up, he was 26, 27. Most men want legacy. So they might have been doomed to failure, whether he was a great guy or not. She didn't want to give him any children.
That's not.
Why is always the dude?
You said what it taught me. I'm just giving you my.
Okay. Let's
Because 10 months in, I should have.
You seen signs?
Yes.
Okay.
But I was believing, and I was, I was wanting to not believe.
Let me ask this way.
Yeah.
If you could tell him how to love you the proper way, what would you have told him? What was about the process because I think that's important too, especially with individuals, right? And going back to the provider mentality. It's like, yo, we don't know what to ask. We just floating and going. But that don't mean that we don't need help. You see what I'm saying?
We did counseling. We were sitting with his pastor, and we did another counselor as well. Like, we did couples, he did individual, I was doing individual. Like, we tried it all.
How old
so
was
it
he?
just was not going to change. He was much younger than me, 7 years younger than me. So I think I really would probably attribute everything to his age. Like, if I'm really being honest, like,
Yes, be honest. Well, you can everything. 90% of this is an age-related thing. You guys were in different places in your life. Definitely.
he was mid-20s.
Oh, city boy for sure.
Yeah, and his team was up.
For
Like,
sure.
okay, it was, there were happenings, and he deserved to live that. Like, that goes back to, like, I want what you want.
But
I don't want anything different than what you want. So if I would have told him how to love me better, it would have denied him the experience of being the man in the world and being on the winning team at the time. And
see, now this is the disingenuous part, right? I sit on a panel every so often with a lady. She would have never accepted. I don't think she would have accepted this answer. She should have told Serg Ibaka exactly what she expected of him and how she felt about what he was doing, and gave him the option to either correct or tell her a lie, or say, yo, I can't do it now, or tell her the truth. I can't do it. It's just too much temptation. But to hold that in and then hold it against him, but in the guise of letting him be free, is a little bit disingenuous, because she's kind of blaming the breakup on him. Because if it was a line in the sand that says you can't be a young man with multiple ladies and have me at the same time, well, you should have told him. You should have told him exactly that, as opposed to say, I want you to be free and I don't want to hold you back. Because he might have made a different choice. So you'll never know that. He probably wouldn't have, but he might have. You didn't give him the opportunity to do it.
having the experiences that he clearly wanted to have. You know what I mean? I'm not going to deny you what you want. Have what you want. Just you may not have me and that, you know?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, you say, I want what you want. But what if the individual says, I want you
and that,
and just a dabble of that?
No.
Yeah. Okay. She is talking to Cam Newton, right? The king of, I'm not going to be committed to one lady. So every woman he's with, I want you, and a dabble of every other woman I want too, right? So he doesn't know any other way to think about it, especially since he's the one bringing most of the stuff to the table, right? So it's kind of funny that she's talking to the number one guy who would be like a Serg Ibaka type, right? So that's really funny.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
That's not, that doesn't work.
But at that age, it's like, yo.
I know that. And so I can remove myself and have it. Like,
let's also say it's not just his age, it's the profession that he's in. You would think that a lot of these guys calm down, and they do later on in life. But a lot of them who do cheat are going to cheat forever, until they really, really have something to settle down for. All right. So his age was a primary factor, but it wasn't only age alone, right? Because there are some young men who can make a choice to be monogamous. But to answer that of a guy in the NBA who probably was one of the most sought after men is pretty much a big ask, especially when beautiful women, I gotta say, they're kind of a dime a dozen.
Like, enjoy it. It may have been the only time he could have. I don't know his life. I don't know where his life would have.
No, I speak for a lot of people when, like, my dad would always tell me, he would end it abruptly, but just saying this, just keep on living, son. Just keep on living.
That part.
And you're like, but what does that mean? And then you realize it's like, yo, just keep on living.
Yeah.
Okay, moving right along.
Yeah.
Ricardo Lockett.
Okay.
Dating history. Is that?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, I thought you were about to go into more. I'm
no,
God.
No.
Yeah, we dated. That was real.
Mm-hmm. What did that teach you?
No more athletes. That's what it taught me.
What about the athletes? Like, why?
Whoa.
Put,
No, and he
put
was
sisters on. Put sisters on of knowing like everybody want the baller.
Okay, yeah. It comes with, and he was removed 2 years, I think. 2 years retired.
Yeah, he had a injury.
Yeah. But his career did end abruptly, and I think there was a lot of emotional, psychological things happening as a result of it being ripped. It wasn't a choice to leave. It was literally ripped from him, which could have been his life. He snapped his neck.
No,
You
for
know what I
sure.
mean? So it was a lot of things that he had to grapple with. And that process is already the case for any athlete,
It's heavy.
right?
It's heavy.
Like even when it's choice, even when there's some adjustment, because that's literally,
Oh, you know.
yes. And then you're wondering, am I still the man? And so I caught the brunt of, I think, that, like his ego being bruised and him maybe wanting to seek that validation from women that he knew and women that he wanted to know. You know what I mean? Like I caught the brunt of that side of his retirement. Because again, it was only 2 years in, 2 years removed.
Yeah. So yeah. Okay. So the brother went down with some depression, but he probably, if he was a womanizer, he probably was a womanizer before that. She's making some sense here, but I'm not a psychologist, and so she could be spot on. But again, we only seen it from her perspective, right? And his depression could have made him go in many different directions, depending on maybe the kind of support she gave him, right? Was she a little bit more disinterested now that he wasn't a ball on top of his game? And now his real world is the lights are going for him, but those lights and bright lights and fans are going for her too, because that life is not there no more for him. So was she still craving a little bit of that? Because when you're in a relationship, and I don't know if they weren't married, so it was kind of bullshit anyway. Was it worth, the angst of staying with a man going through depression and cheating on you? And obviously for her, it wasn't. You know what I'm saying? So because the relationship was going nowhere. Meanwhile, 34, 35, 36, you know what I'm saying? The clock is ticking. 37, and these things I think women think about. And if it ain't going nowhere, so she's making a quicker decision this time than she did with Serg Ibaka. Now listen to her kind of scramble and trying to tell Cam some things. She's trying to be delicate about it, but I'll give her credit for that.
Removed. But I understood that in time. I understood that. And yeah, but athletes, it's because that no empathy thing is real for football, especially.
Mm-hmm.
Like I saw that. Yeah, athletes, I think, if I can be real, this is what I say to my girlfriends about my experiences with the two. I've only dated 2 athletes, so I'm not going to speak generally, but I do also, I'm friends with wives still. And I had learned a lot because, again, I'm an observer in the world. Mm-hmm. So I had learned a lot about what the women in the athletes' lives have.
She's dancing around like a pixie, man. Golly. But I give her credit because she wants to be delicate, because everything she's saying is probably true for Cam Newton.
What they felt and what the experience was, whether they would say it or not. But a lot of them would be vocal. But athletes, you guys have never, I won't say never, but very seldom were you challenged on being a good partner or a good brother or a good son or a good student.
How about this?
Or a good.
You say everything that you want to say, and I will correct.
Okay. Yeah, and let me also say, when she says good partner, I can't stand when women call men partners. We're not your partners. But the problem is when she said good brother or good son, I really take umbrage with that. That's outside of the bounds of what she should have said. It's probably not true. You know what I'm saying? Some of these guys are so good to these guys. They're good to the hanger-ons and the family to a fault. So, but as a partner, quote unquote, that's what women want to call him, a man, a lover, maybe a husband, she might be on to something there.
Okay.
If needed.
Okay.
So you have full.
Yes, I'm being
transparency.
careful because I'm talking to an athlete and I don't want to offend you.
You're not. Trust me. You can't offend
or
me.
anyone else. But yeah,
Please.
I think that you guys have relationally you're stunted because a lot of people have appeased and placated you.
Mhm.
And so you've gotten your way with women, with teachers, with sometimes pastors, you know what I mean? Because everyone's a fan or nobody wants to be in the way of you making it, you know?
That's very true. That's also true of beautiful women. You know, that's privilege, absolutely. And no word of a lie on that last part there. Same thing with beautiful women in the spotlight. And I don't like to do the tit for tat, but it's true. These are the kind of things. This is the kind of privilege that certain people have. Doesn't make it right, but there's a very select few of people out there. Athletes are one of them who actually get, shit, man. They get pampered in life, and it does stunt some growth, no doubt.
And so women don't challenge a certain side of you relationally. And so in my experience, and again, that's mine and the experience of those who I'm from, who I would speak with. In my experience, that was apparent that just stunted emotionally, stunted, like learning things. We're talking in 30s that maybe someone by 21 would have known. You know what I mean?
Like
relational things, like how to be honest, or I mean, so many things. But how to express. You know what I mean? How to be mature about
I would agree with you.
Just certain things that
I will agree with you, but I think
and it wasn't your focus. Not to cut you out, but it wasn't y'all's focus. Relationships couldn't have been your focus. You were paid to run the ball down the field or pass the, you know what I mean? And you were paid to do very specific things that anything else that required other things from you, really, your job had to take precedence over a lot of things. So it's not always your fault. It's not your fault at all, really.
Well, instead of saying fault, this is where you are in life. I mean, as a mature woman of 29, what made you think that you were going to change your 22-year-old guy who had a stunted growth? Well, you didn't know that at the time. So that doesn't make you stunted. It just means you don't know everything, right? So you had to live your experience to be able to say what you're saying right now. And you probably wish you would have learned that at 21 or 19. Then you probably would have never went out with Serg Ibaka once you hit 29. You know what I'm saying? So it's this, it's the kind of tangled web we weave as human beings. We all learn at different rates, different stuff. And it's not really a pointing finger game. It's when you meet a person where they're at, sometimes they're not ready for the things that you want out of them, and they can't deliver the things you want because either one, they're ignorant of it, or they don't know how to, right? And they have to grow into it. So I don't know. So I mean, she's not wrong, but it's a universal thing. It's not like just because he's an athlete, So people fumble the bag all the time, one way or the other. But she probably shouldn't have been talking to a 22-year-old.
I think as you're talking, there's certain things that's coming up. It's like, yo, you don't learn how to love because anybody will love you.
Yes. Bottom line.
You feel me?
Yes.
And it's like stepping away from the game and experiencing. We know how we are. I know and I don't even feel like I'm selling out. It's just the truth. It's like, bro, everybody. Like I tell my kids all the time. I mean, my all-star kids. C1N.
Okay.
Has been a philanthropic give back for me in certain cases. We provide football camps and things. And when I talk to kids and it's like, man, I got a girlfriend. I'm like, how old are you? 16. I said, what school you going to? Georgia. The University of Georgia? Yeah. Is she going there with you? No, she can't get in. I say, all right. You want the good news or you want the bad news? Like I've been living for a long time, and I ain't never known nobody to be married to their high school sweetheart. That's not to say keep on living. Because it's not to say that you can't get married to your high school sweetheart.
Yeah, because
they do.
Yeah.
And that's real love. But more times than not.
Yeah, especially.
It's real love and it's real rare. But you know, this is a good conversation between the two of them. I mean, they talk about a lot of things in this live. I would recommend. I'll put the link to the whole thing if you want to. It's over an hour or something long. And if you want to, you know, go see the whole thing, you know, you can find it in the description. I think we're going to end up this conversation. Then I'm going to just end it. Let's see what they got. If there's any last words on this subject.
Especially in athletics.
Yeah. About that.
It's hard to make.
Have y'all ever seen Get Out?
Yeah.
Okay, we could stop it on this one. Anyway, so yeah, I haven't really sat down and watched a full interview with Keri Hilson, you know, in a while. She's a very nice looking woman at 42 years old. I think I did a little search on her. She doesn't, you know, she's worried about, she didn't want to have any children because she didn't want to pass on some degenerative kidney disease. She doesn't know if it would have happened or not, but she didn't want to take the chance. I think, you know, that also limits the kind of men that's going to want to be with you as well, because unless they have children already, most men want a legacy, even now. Unfortunately, nobody wants to really get married, but they want a legacy. But there's ways around a lot of that stuff. So anyway, I thought this was an interesting conversation. I just wanted to share with you guys. Our pain, marriage, politics, and sports. Over and out.